G'day there, ladies and gents of the internet. I am the Braveheart Aussie and welcome to a journey in world building. Last week we spent our video discussing the purpose, general inspirations and process of our world building project. And today we are commencing on that first foundational step, that of genre. Nominating a genre for your world building project is in my mind a critical step. There are valid arguments made that genre selection at the beginning of a project like this is somewhat premature, that genre is something that is made evident by the concepts, settings and other elements of your world. I understand and appreciate this logic, particularly in a traditional literary storytelling context, though I feel that this devalues the foundational nature of genre selection in a discrete world building project. For me, selecting a genre and associated subgenre elements represents a central point of truth for a world-building project, something that can be constantly referred back to for support, for reassurance, and for contextualization. If you get lost, delayed, or otherwise hindered by the reality of developing an entire world or universe from scratch, the genre, along with the subgenre elements and pillars, represent critical referential touchpoints that have the potential to catalyze further creativity while maintaining and building universal cohesiveness. For me, in commencing this project, there were only two real options to consider: fantasy and science fiction. These genres in my mind lend themselves most comprehensively to the process of creative and original world building, and I've had amazing experiences in my life immersing myself into worlds of each. However, I've decided for this project we will be developing, nurturing and exploring a science fiction universe. This should come as no surprise to those of you who watched my first video and the discussion on my own personal world building inspirations. Science fiction is for me where my mind immediately goes when I think about the world building that I love. I love to look forward and consider the future and what it may hold for our species, allowing me to tap into my love for space, the universe and the mysteries it holds. So that's a start. We're doing a science fiction universe. But it's also not much of a start. That doesn't really tell us much. One of the arguments against placing too much emphasis on genre selection at the beginning is that the primary role of a genre is often to inform the reader what the story or world is not, i.e. that this is not going to be a fantasy world. So let's address that by looking at the myriad of subgenres of science fiction that we can possibly draw on to define our project. And without labouring you and I with an extensive list of all the possible permutations of science fiction subgenres out there, let's nominate a few that we're going to explore in this project. The first subgenre I'll be selecting is Grimdark. Most commonly associated with dark fantasy and medieval historical settings, Grimdark's origins are actually found in the Warhammer 40k universe and their tagline for the original tabletop strategy game: "In grim darkness of the far future, there is only war." For me, Grimdark means dystopian, where the value of life is minuscule and where individuals, communities and societies must face horrific challenges with little or no chance of success or survival. Yes, it likely means violence, but also corruption, deprivation, desperation and fear. The reason I'm drawn to grimdark worlds is because they linger with me. I feel uncomfortable reading them and thinking about them, but in a way, that is their attraction. They represent a dreaded outcome manifest, an unlikely risk of devastating consequences made real and tangible in all its discomfort. And when executed well, with engrossing cohesiveness, the alienness of grimdark worlds and universes are often not enough to belie their attraction, subsuming you into them while your mind tries valiantly to maintain at least a foothold in the aspirational moral good of this reality. So that's the first part, a grimdark science fiction. And what about the science? I mentioned in my first video my desire for a universe where the science has a foundation in reality. If not perfectly so, then with a reasonable degree of logic and tangibleness. This would definitely be closer to the end of the spectrum referred to as hard science. That contrasts with what you have with the science of the Star Wars universe, science that could be regarded as soft to the point of almost being fantasy. I want to know how the human race uses technology in our universe to travel across the stars, survive on inhospitable planets, and protect themselves from all manner of grim dangers that threaten them. So rather than simply having some form of miraculous and ill-described FTL drive that enables easy and affordable travel across the universe, I want our universe to have a system of travel that is challenging, costly, and full of risks. All technologies must possess a degree of reality, or at least internal logical consistency. This would place us closer to the hard ends of the science spectrum. Not full Arthur C. Clarke or even Expanse, but definitely down towards that end. So for the sake of this project, let's call it firm science. And finally, I want to talk about post-apocalyptic subgenres of science fiction. This is a personal favourite of mine in gaming and media, with The Last of Us being a perfect recent example. Breaking and destroying the foundations of the world in which we currently reside is often an effective method or tool of establishing a setting where completely original concepts do not run afoul of our own reality. An alternative is to adopt the Warhammer 40k approach, which sets the universe so far into the future that the present becomes irrelevant. But I believe this approach would run afoul of my desire for the harder approach to science and technology we are aiming for. And this raises an important point about the subgenres we're selecting. They are reinforcing. I see them as something of a Venn diagram, where we overlap grimdark, firm science, and a post-apocalyptic setting. The genre of world building we are seeking to develop within this overarching framework of science fiction sits at the nexus point between these three subgenres. And that's it. That is our genre of Defined, the foundational element of our world building project. Together we will craft a compelling post-apocalyptic science fiction universe based on grim dark realism. We're certainly not going to be pulling any punches with this one. And that is where we're going to finish it up today. Next week we'll be working on the pillars of our grimdark sci-fi universe with some specific inspirations, themes and tenets that will help to add body and flesh to the skeleton that we've established with our genre selection. Thank you so much again for everybody who has joined me so far on this journey. If you haven't already done so, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell to get notified when new episodes are released. And make sure you comment in the section below and let me know if you're enjoying it or if you have any questions or comments on our work so far. So thank you so much. I hope you all have a wonderful day and may the journey continue.